Recording on the computer. All right,
Okay,
Mohammad, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Amir, and thanks for inviting me here. My name is Mohammad Dashti. So today I'm going to talk about, hacker's life, and we'll get to see what it is. Let me first share my screen. I have a couple of slides. I might switch slides off and on. I'm not sure if I will do it, but yeah, that was part of the plan. Let's start by giving you the outline of what I'm going to talk about. First, a little bit about myself, so that you can get to know me better. And also then we will talk about some definitions, who's a hacker, and some discussion around that. And then the next thing I will talk about how to become a hacker. And then at the end, I will talk about the future for hackers. So what is in future for hackers? So first about me, I'm a computer scientist slash senior software engineer at Relational AI. It's a startup that in this startup that was around right now 3.5 years. I was the first first engineer to join this startup right after doing my PhD. And we are building an incredible cloud native database system that is going to be used for machine learning and AI use cases, which the specifics of it is in being able to do all this machine learning and AI computations inside the database, as opposed to exporting data from a database and doing analytics outside. And also we are also building new algorithms for learning over relational data, as opposed to just learning over one single array of data. So it's a little bit technical. We can go into a lot of detail there, but that's not the main topic that I'm going to discuss today. So a little bit more about myself. I was born in Yazd, Iran. Then all my childhood and pre-university studies were in Yazd. And then I went to Tehran to continue my bachelor and master's at Fraser University of Technology. I studied IT engineering over there. Then after that, went to Switzerland to do my PhD at EPFL in Lausanne. I did a PhD in computer science. After that, I went back to Iran, same city, Yazd. I was there. I became a faculty member there at Yazd University. Then one thing led to another, and then I'm here in Vancouver working for Relational AI. So it's been now almost 1.5 years that I'm here in Vancouver. It's a great city. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really glad they ended up here. That was a serendipity, but nonetheless. Okay, so let's talk about who's a hacker. So when I talk about hacker, and probably when you saw the title, what came to your mind was, hey, someone that goes and hacks into websites and computers and so on. But as a general term, hacker is computer hacker is actually a computer expert who uses their technical knowledge to achieve a goal or overcome an obstacle. So it's like a problem solver. Any computer scientist or computer engineer that solves a problem in general can be called a hacker. But there are specific things. So it's like should be there's an element of smartness and being curious there that we'll talk about in a bit. So the whole hacker life is like a community life. It's a community. There's a shared culture of expert programmers and networking wizards. Hackers build the internet. Hackers made the Unix operating system. Hackers made the World Wide Web work. So it's all the good things that we have around us, computer-wise, they are all done by hackers. On the other side, there are the generic term, usually in movies or other places, that refers to hacker. We call them crackers. Crackers are the ones who break these systems, but the actual hackers are the ones who build these systems. And then usually in the community, those are better respected, the ones who build the systems. the ones that are cracking and only destroying these systems and finding ways to break them and get into them and then just make some problems there. Those are less respected in a way that, frankly, they're not as intelligent. But yeah, so but yeah, so because all this great stuff that we have around us it needs a lot of work to be built. So there are some things that are called hacker attitudes. So what features do we need in someone to call them a hacker? So the word is has a lot of new problems that are waiting to be solved, right? So the element of curiosity is very important here. So hacker is someone that is constantly looking, okay, where's the next problem? What can I do for it? How can I solve it? How can I build something that can solve that problem? So this is the first thing. The next thing is, in this hacker attitude, no problem should be solved twice. So, the attitude is that you shouldn't be forced to reinvent the wheel. Is like, in a way, in this hacker culture, when you solve a problem, you share it with others through documents, through code, sharing your code through all possible mediums to share your knowledge, so that the next hacker that comes will build upon what you've built, right? Rather than just reinventing what you've already done. Well, this doesn't mean that people shouldn't find other solutions to the same problem. For example, if it's not that, if someone solved a problem in one way, no one ever should go and solve it again with another approach. And I'm not meaning that. I'm meaning here that it shouldn't be that because of reasons of, for example, programs being closed source and there's no access because of the company policies to an implementation of a solution. Because of those reasons, those are not good reasons actually for something to be invented again. But the other things like just trying to solve the problem by another approach, that's completely okay. And the next thing is, hackers should not do repetitive stuff. So it's not that, anything that is repetitive, it feels like, you are doing the same job over and over again. Something that can be automated, actually, those should be avoided by a hacker. Actually, those I call them evil, because that will take the time, the real useful time that you can spend building stuff, to doing this repetitive work that can be automated. So automation is one important part of hacker's life. And then freedom is good. It's the hacker really shouldn't be confined through the walls of companies rules or country rules. The main thing that the hacker should focus on building products and solutions that can be used by everyone. So the hacker is free to do whatever he or she wants, and the world is not going to, whatever barrier the world puts around the hacker, it shouldn't matter to him. Should find ways around it. And the fifth thing is attitude is no substitute for competence. So I talked about all these 4 attitudes, but if someone has all of these attitudes, doesn't become a hacker. So you should have competence there. So you should be competent in what you're doing. Here in this instance that I'm talking is about computer knowledge, but essentially it can be extended to all other areas of science and technology. So you should be competent in one or the other way in order to be called a hacker. And what, as much as you can, if you can make your skills scarce and specific, that there are few people that can do the same thing, and that makes you a more valuable hacker. So next question is, okay, kind of understood like what kind of attitude I should have when thinking about who's a hacker, but then how to become a hacker. Then there is an easy way to become a hacker. We call them script kiddies. which you can go on the internet, you can look for how to do X, how to do Y, how to hack a website that is in WordPress, a specific version. You will find lots of scripts out there, and then you can start even running them, and you can, boom, hack websites, hack other places, or do things that can help you finish a small task that you have. But it will not make you an actual hacker, because unless you can change these scripts and make changes to them to make it work for you in different environments or different circumstances. So what's the hard way? There are multiple steps. This is one example of for that. You need to learn how to program. That's the basic element if you want to become a computer hacker. Then next step would be get one of the open source Unixes and learn to use and run it. And that's the second step. Third step is learn how to use World Wide Web and write the language of World Wide Web, that is HTML. And then you need to also master English, which I don't think that's a problem for anyone here, but it's important to get into the whole culture of whole hacker culture. But these are this is not like a step-by-step thing here. There are different ways of making progress here, but the essence of it is being able to start learning programming and then trying to master it through applying it in different open source projects. So then the next question is, what is the status in the hacker culture? The first step actually is for you to be able to write open source software. So if you can start a project, either start it by yourself or continue helping in other open source projects, you have the entry point to becoming a hacker. So if you already know programming, that's a good way to start. Go look for websites that serve open source projects, and then you can find a project that interests you and start contributing to it by looking at the issues that are already out there, or talking to the main developers there, and then see what you can contribute. And you will be amazed how much people need help there, and we'll welcome your contributions. The next thing is, if you still don't feel very confident in contributing directly, one very valuable way of becoming a member of the hacker culture is to help test and debug open source software. That's a very important role because an open source piece of software has some tests already there, but it's usually takes a lot of time to invest in write more tests, to debug it, to find issues there, and hammer the projects until it becomes more usable by the broader community that is going to be targeted by that open source software. So people that can contribute there are also very much high demand. So that's another thing to look at. And the next thing is publishing useful information. So as much as writing code and debugging and these open source software is important, I can say equally or even more important is publishing useful information, that is like writing documentation for these projects, or writing FAQs, kind of frequently asked questions about those projects, or writing blog posts about how someone can use this project for specific purposes. So that's also a very valuable position that you can contribute. The next thing is help keeping the infrastructure working. So around any open source project, there's a whole community, right? So there are people that need to administer the whole processes, or take care of newsletters, for example, or take care of all the things that the ecosystem needs there. For example, there are again things about which mostly looks like the third item is like publishing about the product. So anything that contributes to the ecosystem of one open source project to be delivered to its customers, that is considered to be part of this fourth element. That is again, to be honest, it's not the most enjoyable part of the work. So everyone loves to work in the first or second element, or then the next one. But this one is highly appreciated by the community because they know, whoever helps in this part, and this last fourth part, is taking a very important piece of work that is like less people like to do that, but nonetheless should be done, right? So that's another way of contributing to this hacker culture. The last thing is serve the hacker culture itself. So it's like spreading the word. So similar to, for example, what I'm doing now, but other things that you can contribute to the culture itself to make it a more definitive culture. Okay, so yeah, actually you can look at this link also later. That's a good one with more information about the same items here. Yeah, so I went really quickly over all this data. So I will spend a little bit more time here about the future for hackers. That is, we know currently the world around us, if you look at the businesses out there, all the computer businesses, all the high-tech businesses are doing well, despite the whole other part of the economy is not doing much well, right? So it's apparent that right now technology companies, especially the companies that are software technology companies, they are doing well. And with whatever trend that you look, that most of you probably already have looked there, the demand will increase over time. But in my opinion, the demand will be different than today. So today, any kind of software developer, any kind of software engineer is highly on demand. But in future, specific special expertise will be requested. For example, the people that know more about a specific part of the domain, like how data related systems, take it like database systems or machine learning systems or AI systems work, these contributors will be much more demanded. The other thing is, all the engineers that know about how to make automated systems work, also those are going to be highly on demand. So in general, it makes sense to invest some time for you if you are not already in this domain working, to get to know basic things like getting to know programming, getting to know how this technology works. But other than that, you have to also keep an eye on what sector you want to get into and want to increase your knowledge about, right? So it's not just knowing how to program that can help you, but also being a little bit smart about where to focus. And some of you have already are working, as I heard, working in this sector. Some like Julian moved to this part of the business, as from, for example, finance to IT security, for example. So as a career, one thing that no one tells you, or most of the time, it's hard. It's learned by experience in a hard way. Is it's very quick to get employment in this sector, but very difficult to find long-term stable employment. So that you should be careful about. What's the reason? Because as much as we see that it's more software engineers, more hackers are demanded, still on the other side, there are many more people that want to get to this sector, right? As a workforce. Then what happens is the employers in the future, even now, have a lot of options. That's one problem. The second problem is we have, as the second problem, things are going really fast, right? So it's like technologies change, what you need to know changes, and then because of that, you have to remain up to date. So it's very different from other careers. So let's think about like if you have a career in mechanical engineering, there's potentially not going to be much change, in your lifespan. So you learn something in university, and then you can use it until the end of your career. Similar for many other fields, like civil engineering or other areas of science and technology. But for computer science, because it's very new, things are changing with an unbelievable pace. So you need to be ready to take it with you as things are going to change. I need to learn over and over and learn new things. And then even harder than learning is unlearning, because when things change, you sometimes have to unlearn stuff before you can learn new things, because the paradigms change, and then you need to recalibrate there. So that's very also very important if you are thinking about changing careers to this segment. But anyways, that is the main thing that I wanted to talk about. It's a little bit short, but I left time to for questions at the end, so we can talk and brainstorm about your questions, something that might be on your mind that we can talk about. I'm all ears.
Thank you. Do you need the screen to be, or can we?
No, I can stop sharing so we can see everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for the insight into hackers' life. I wanted to say thank you for the bad influence, but no, actually I learned a lot. So before we go into questions, we have a few more people that joined us while you were speaking. But before we go there, I would like to ask people to turn their camera on for our group photo if they want to be there. So I'm gonna give it a few seconds, and then we'll take the group photo. All right, everyone's ready. Looking good. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. All right, we got Sarah. If you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi. So I'm Sarah. So my husband is also joining. I can hear myself from. So yeah, I did computer science, Master of Computer Science from University of Saskatchewan, and I'm working as a software developer for stem cell technologies. So, and I've worked there for 4 years.
Awesome. We also have Mehdi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mehdi. I'm a phone engineer and quality engineer, and I'm working in natural factors as QC process coordinator. I enjoy the show very much.
Awesome. We have Zohra.
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Zohra, and I'm a UX UI designer at HealthQB.
All right. Thanks to Sarah and Sam for the efficiency. That's awesome. All right. Question time. Just if you want, you can use the raise hand thing, or at this point, let me see if anyone raised their hand. Nobody raised their hand. If you want, you can just be the person asking the first question. Come on, don't be shy. 2021, it's 2021. 2020 is gone. Okay, Isan.
Oh, Mohammad, being a hacker is a good thing. Until today, I was thinking it's not a good thing. It's really like a profession today. It's like really like a job, or like people work on it to be like to call themselves hacker.
Yeah. So the thing is, currently, these terms change their meaning over time, right? So currently, hacker is almost identical as open source software developer. So that is almost identical. So you're pretty indistinguishable. So the type of hacker, as I said during the presentation, type of hacker that is black hat hacker, that they call them, that is most widely known as hacker. That is in the community itself, community of hackers, they are called crackers, that are just breaking the systems and trying to get in their systems, and those are specific, small portion of all hackers that are doing work on cybersecurity only. But yeah, but the term hacker refers to almost all open source software developers.
I was thinking that all these movements that we have in the science to have like open publication journals and have like open resource everything, most of those activities could be also called like hackers too in the science.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I said the term hacker is expanded beyond just computer programmers. So in other fields, even in music, someone had that's contributes is called a hacker. But specifically, I talked about the computer programmer hackers. But the thing is, interestingly, this type of open source developers, these open source hackers, are also having a very good time right now. Also being paid well because of the the way that the industry treated it and accepted it, right? So it's not that only because these software developers are contributing to open source software, they are not being paid. They're actually being paid very well. Because it's for a company. So let me give you an example. So out there you can search for it. There are some companies that are less heard of, that are very valuable companies. For example, search for a company called MongoDB. That's a company that's main product is completely open source, and the valuation of the company today is $20 billion. So they built a $20 billion business around an open source product, right? And then all the people that work on this software, they are committing their code to this open source repository. So the company mainly is paying for them. This MongoDB company now is paying for them, but all their work is coming to the open source stream. So yeah, it doesn't mean that when you open source stuff and when you give your work to others, it's like something that you're giving away that you are losing. It's actually nowadays it's different. Like as you're making it open source and available to others are more will trust you better in giving their business to you, because they know you are pretty transparent with what you're doing with their data. For example, in the case of, for example, MongoDB, what you're doing with their data, what you are applying, what kind of process you're applying, and yeah, so that's also a way of convincing people to use your system, because at the end of the day, no big business will put their their data, their all their processes on a software that is not supported. So they need the support, and because of the support, the customers will pay eventually. So it doesn't mean that when just we are open sourcing, it's going to be given away in a sense, right?
Thank you. Great presentation. I learned a lot.
Thank you. We have a question from Pejman, I believe.
Yeah, Mohammad, you mentioned something in the introduction about your company working and doing analytics inside the database. I'm wondering if that would be also some area that we can make questions about, or you would be able to just touch on that a little bit, or
yeah,
that's
definitely.
Out of
my company currently, Relational AI, we are very open. We are publishing research papers. We are open, doing a lot of open source work. So yeah, depending on your question, I might or might not be.
I was just wondering how is this done, and what this concept even is to do analytics inside the database but not outside, and whether you can actually expose you're using Mongo or any other database for that.
Yeah. So
the reason that I'm asking is that we use Mongo, but we use analytics outside of Mongo, and I'm curious to know how this would be possible to do analytics inside.
I see. Okay, so first of all, the second question, we as a company, we are not doing anything with Mongo. Mongo was just an example that they gave as a successful open source company, So I will repeat the question for everyone. So the question is I need to give you background too. So currently, just think about it, like the way that machine learning systems and AI algorithms out there work is that usually you need to give it, usually you have a data set that you want to learn one column of that data set, thinking if you have columnar data. Let's say you have a table of your information about some patients, and then you have, for example, glucose level, the blood pressure, XYZ, all the parameters of that patient, and then at the end you have a column that says whether that patient has, cancer or not. Okay, something that you want to learn about. So usually the algorithms that work in this section are consider your data as a table. They will receive it as a table, like it's like an array of data, and then you specifically say, hey, I have all this data. Please learn this last column for me. What does it mean? It means that what happens is at the end of this algorithm running, if I give you another set of information, another row of this data, I want to learn if this patient with all these parameters will have cancer or not in this example, right? So this is the usual way that learning algorithms right now in the industry work. So the question that Pejman asked is, how can databases help us with this? What's the approach that my company currently taking? So if you think about it again, it's and if you look at how it's done usually in businesses today, they put their data in one database. Let's say Pejman said they're putting it in MongoDB, for example. But then when they want to learn this learn over this data, they have to export it from that database completely and then just push it to this other system to do the learning for them, right? So it's like treating this database something like a file, right? It's like a file that I'm writing stuff to it and then reading the whole file and writing it again to this other algorithm that's going to learn. That's pretty inefficient. And we know that database systems are meant to actually help processing data. They know a lot about how to process data, how to move the data around. They are efficiently built for that. But currently in the businesses today, there's no use of it. People are using databases like files. And we've seen that, me being a database researcher and other colleagues of mine in the company, we observed this and say it doesn't make sense. We need to be able to use the same database technology to learn stuff, right? So that way, if your database itself has learning facilities, you don't have to take your data out and then learn it in another system. You can learn it inside the database itself. What's the benefit of it? There are two benefits. One is it will be faster because you don't have to spend all this time exporting data, learning, and again importing data back. This one benefit. The other benefit is usually the data is relational, which means you don't have one single table that you want to learn from. You have very many tables. We have customers right now, they have hundreds of thousands of tables. That's, it's the whole database that they have, right? And then if with this, I'm not saying 100,000, just let's say 100 tables if you have, and then you come to me and say, Mohammed, I want to learn this one column of this one table out of this 100 tables out there. The current way of doing that is people join all these tables together, which means like you try to find how to combine all these tables together and form a huge table, and then you feed this huge table to the learning algorithm that you have, which doesn't work like that. So you need to do a lot of other stuff to make it work. So because of that, if you do it inside the database, you don't have to join all your data together. You can work on the factor form and then learn on the factor form, which means like we have all these separate 100 tables, and then we have just specific algorithms for learning over these tables without joining them together and without exporting them outside of the database to learn from it. So it's like, again, that is the technology built to learn over the relational data. That's also why the company is called Relational AI, because we are doing learning over the factored relational data already. So it increases the speed and also it increases the accuracy of the learning algorithm, because when you join all this data together, you lose the information of these joins. What does it mean? Let's say we have employee and customer information, and then let's say there's employee supervisor tables that we have, and then when you join these two tables together, as one example, then you lose the relation between this data, right? So all this data is just joined together in one single table. Then the learning algorithm has to relearn this, that there was a relation between this guy was an employee and this guy was a supervisor, and that's why we joined them. But if you just learn on the factored data, you don't have to actually relearn this stuff. You have some extra metadata there. So yeah, so it went a lot of details, I know, but it's like there are many benefits of efficiency and both efficiency and accuracy of the learning. I don't know if I answered, Pejman.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was very, very helpful and thorough. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, you have a question, I guess.
Yeah, but Sarah had a question too, but then
okay.
She lowered her hand. I don't know. Do you still want to ask a question?
Actually, Sam had a question and he left, so I don't have a question for him.
Okay, then it's Amin.
Thanks a lot, Mohammed, for your talk. You mentioned testing, debugging, and contributing to writing open source codes as one of the ways of getting better at this. What do you recommend as a place to find these projects? Where do you go to if you want to make a contribution?
Okay, great question, actually. So that I actually forgot to talk about this. I want to expand on this. One thing that first I should tell you about is, during the past 3 years that I've been in this environment that is, I have a lot of interactions with the open source community. I'm contributing myself, but also, seeing other people, what they're doing. And I've seen numerous, like, over 30 people actually, that they were headhunted because they were working on an open source project. Right, so it's like they didn't look for a job. They were not doing anything. They just were doing their work, contributing to a valuable open source software, And then two things happened that I saw. It's like either a big company came, asked them, hey, come work for us. And then they got, like offers that are crazy, like twice the amount that, if they were going to interview with that company. And the second thing is, they were offered to just continue, please just continue on what you're doing, and we are just going to pay you. It's like we are not going to contractually bound you. We are not going to limit you in any way. Just do whatever you want. We'll pay you X dollars per month. So it's like these two things are common. It's like it happens every day. It's unrelated to your question. So I wanted to first talk about the benefits of it. It's like, and then now where do you find it? It depends on your interest and the area that you are more comfortable with. It depends on your background and everything. A good general website to look for open source project is GitHub. GitHub is sourcing, is hosting all of this great open source projects, and then it is also like a social network, right? You can see all people, see how they're interacting, what they are doing. That's a good way of finding projects in general. But more specifically, you should look at the area of interest for you. And then for that area of interest, let's say I'm a database developer right now. If I want to go look for work, I will go check what are the open source databases out there, how much work they need. It's like how much things can be done there. You can look at the projects. Let me actually show you in practice. That might be helpful because if I just say it in theory, it might not do the thing that might be helpful. So what I do, I will go to github.com, right? So then I will see, let's say, the example that I gave you, Mongo. I will go see this open source project here. There are several tabs. Well, maybe not a good, because I'm just doing it randomly. Let's go back to another, let's say this one. It's just some random open source project that I'm contributing to. So you can go to, let me give you a better example even. So so great example is just Julia-Lang. It's a new programming language by MIT that is completely open source too. So you can go over their their GitHub page. So there are several tabs. The first tab is code. You can see their code. You can get their code from here. You can download it. You can work with it. But there are also several other important tabs here. One is issues. You can look at the issues out there. For example, they have filed several issues of like what's wrong, what happened, and you can look at these issues. This is sort of problems that they are currently dealing with. And you can see if you can find any affinity with yourself, like if you like to solve this kind of issues. And it's a good way of starting, like going, commenting on their issue, trying to understand. And when you understand it, you try to fix the problem. After you fix the problem, you create a pull request. Pull request is like you change the code and you just send your changes to this open source project, and someone will review this after that, and your code gets merged with their code, right? It's as simple as that. Find an issue, fix it, create a pull request, go forward, rinse and repeat. This is the way to go. But really finding the project itself, it requires just searching like what takes your interest, right? I don't know if I answered your question.
Absolutely, yes. The only thing I don't, first of all, it looks like you guys live in a different universe where you all work together. And so where I work, people are very secretive. Like my company's competing with a bunch of other companies and they don't want details to go out. So it's certainly a new concept for me to see how there's so much sharing and sharing the code and sharing everything.
Exactly. So it's a different culture. I agree. But still, it doesn't mean that you cannot, because of your company being secretive, you cannot be part of this. It's
No,
like
absolutely.
your contract is bound with the company, and you have probably non-competition terms. So you cannot work on the similar product, not similar open source products, but you can find another dissimilar product and then start contributing that in your free time.
Sure. My other question to continue is, how do you know if a developer is welcoming contributions from people that they don't know anything about? Like when you go on GitHub, how do you know if a certain project is actually welcoming your contribution?
Almost all projects are welcoming your contribution. That's
really?
what I can say. So it's like if you solve an issue and just send the code, they will review it. If it's good, they will accept it. If it's not good, they will comment. Give you feedback, right? This feedback is also valuable for you. That hey, if it's not completely crap, this feedback will help in fixing the issues, and then you will change it again, and then eventually it will get in, right? So there's I haven't seen, because it's out, it doesn't make sense. Someone came create an open source project because they wanted to help the community and also get the traction, and then you are giving traction by coming to help them. So there's no way they will not accept it.
So if there is an open issue, they'll welcome a solution, you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. The issue is open because no one has still picked on it. So you can see also under the issue if it's assigned to anyone or not. If it's not assigned to anyone, it means no one is working on that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. I think, Fatima raised her hand.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. It was a great presentation and we learned a lot. I have two questions. One is more detailed, I guess, and the other is general. I start with the first one. This is related to the previous explanation to the question that you had, I mean, relational AI. Just one example came to my mind, that by considering that tables that you were talking, and you can get benefit of the relations of the columns and everything, how do you make sure that, for example, considered in the example that you said, there is a column there that it has a very close relation to the output. For example, the output is being cancer or not, and one of the column is, for example, the cancer location or something that is, for you can get 100% accuracy, but just using that column. So how do you, before using that data set, how do you make sure that you filter such columns out of the database that you are going to use?
Yeah, so the concept that you're talking about is more about feature engineering, because you need to have this, so let me repeat the question. So the question is, sometimes you might have correlation in your data, and you don't want to use that correlation that is not is not causation. You don't want to have that, right? So the way to do that, there are many approaches already in the literature. Probably that what you're asking is also related. That is doing feature engineering to remove this kind of columns. That's not our focus, because we are using the same things that are in the literature. We are not innovating there, right? So it's like we're using still the same approaches towards that.
So you will definitely do some feature engineering before giving this.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Definitely. But not the kind of feature engineering that, but there are two kinds of, this is one kind of feature engineering. The other kind of feature engineering is that when you have very many features, right? And then you cannot learn based on this sparse space. You had to reduce the, dimensions. And for that, if you have lots of tables that you want to join them together, this space will explode, and it's not easy to reduce that space.
Yeah, definitely. My other question is, which is more general, so is that, for example, consider in my field of study in university, I'm working in clinical applications, and in the work that I do, it's in financial, and both of them are somehow kind of considered secured fields, and we are not able to open source any of our codes or anything that we have. In my PhD, I haven't released any of my codes because of these ethics that we have signed and everything. So what do you suggest for our cases? And in my internships that I have passed, that was the same thing. It's in RBC related to the financial data and all those stuff, and that there I'm also not allowed to publish anything.
I see.
So what's your suggestion here?
Yeah, so this usually happens with, the financial data is very important, but with almost all kinds of data, you can find, the owner of that data being really concerned about sharing it. The normal approach that people take is by anonymizing the data. So for example, if there are names, social security number, and other sensitive information, you can anonymize it, right? So what does anonymization mean for everyone else that might not have heard of it? Is like, if my name is Mohammad in my, and we have a database of financial information, just replace name Mohammad everywhere. Mohammad Dashti with something with a specific string, that's XYZ 123, right? And then no one will, get to know that, right? So anonymization is a field by itself, right? So it's like the approach that I talked about now is a very naive way of doing that, because then using this simple approach of replacing stuff with other stuff, someone can find, again, reverse the data back. But there are other hashing approaches to anonymization. So have you tried anonymizing your data and then publishing that? How's that?
Actually, we are not allowed to do. We are not allowed even to keep our data in our laptops. It's so secure. We should just have them in our servers in the lab or university. And for the company, it's the same. We cannot have it.
Probably
So,
it's a conversation.
Yeah.
Probably you need to start a conversation with the company. Hey, we need to separate the concerns here. You have the concern of data privacy and then secrecy of your data, but we don't want to leak any of that, but we want to just share our findings, scientific wise, to the community. So for that, we need to find a way, and then anonymizing the data is already the approach taken by many American banks. Actually, they are doing that, and they are helping the community. There are many medical centers in the US. They are doing the same thing. So I think that's the conversation thing. If you start this conversation, it's a hard thing. People will backfire and don't want it, but that's the way the change happens, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess Sam has his hand up now.
Yep. A quick question. Sorry, like for my when I asked initially, I got a urgent quick call, so I couldn't ask the question. So my question is that, like, first, thanks for the presentation. The topic is an interesting topic, and there was like a lot of things that was clarified for me about the term hacker. My question, like Mohammad you mentioned about like some jobs are in more demand, in technology, like it's in some domain, and you mentioned that specifically in computer science, like some job in data will be in demand. Like, I'm just curious, what do you think in terms of the specific fields in data? Because what I see from the market right now, like let's say data science, I feel data scientists are oversupplied and overrated kind of like field, like a lot of graduate from university, but not many jobs in 2020. And it seems that's a trend, but there are some other area, that there are demand for data people in software. So what do you think about this trends? When you say there are more jobs and demand in data, what is specific in data area?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. That's also one thing that I forgot to cover. So the thing is, when I talk about data, it's a generic term. It's I intentionally put it in generic way, because data is, we all know data is like oil, right? So it's like same way that oil had traction before, and all these kind of jobs around it, were on high demand before, right? So it's like, again, data, when I'm calling all kinds of jobs that are related to data, right? Because this is a source of value, and around this source of value, whatever you build is going to be and require human resources. And then just look at it. It's only human resource there that is building this stuff. I've been to many companies. I've worked in Microsoft Research, actually. There, you would think that they are having specific equipments and so on, but no, they just have their laptops, like me, like you, like everyone else around the whole world. So there's no special equipment there, right? So it's only human resources. There are two types of people in this industry: people that are users of technology and people who are building the technology. In my opinion, whoever is building the technology will remain always high demand. It's like there's no way. You're building a technology is going to be built over and over again in cycles. There are cycles of improvement and improvement and improvement, and there's no way that we'll get to a point and say, we have this product X, that's the best thing in the world, we'll stop it there. No way. So we'll continue, it will get to the point, I'm not saying never, but not probably in our lifetime. Because it needs to get, at least to the same level of maturity as other fields of technology. But before that, it's going to go on and on. And whoever is building these systems, first of all, those are not type of the developers and software engineers that are being trained right now in high quantities. Yeah, because this is a fact, right? So it's like the more people that are being trained are of the type of users, right? So data scientists, I'm not, it's also an umbrella term. It's an overloaded term. We cannot, just use it lightly. But when I say data scientist, I mean someone who uses a data processing system to analyze data, right? So that is a position that needs a lot of knowledge, combined knowledge. So you cannot just compare easily to data scientists, right? So it requires a lot of understanding of mathematics, statistics, computer science knowledge. It's a interdisciplinary field, but still, nonetheless, is using other systems. So so again, if we put aside the people who are building the system, and then we just look at the space of people that are using these systems, and these are all the data scientists that we are talking about, right? So for that domain, it makes it harder over time because more people are going to be able to catch up and learn about how to use these systems. And these systems is also are going towards the point that are easier to use, with less knowledge, they become more intuitive. So for the data scientists to remain on top of this game, they need to become smarter and deepen their knowledge in both directions, in the systems themselves, how they're built. So if required in the future, they can contribute to the systems themselves, or deepen themselves in the statistics, mathematics, just remaining shallow at the level of using these systems. That's going to be problematic in the future. Even now, it's a problem because let's face it, there are many. You can become a data scientist from any field in 6 months. Even UBC is giving the degree now, 6 months to a year. So there will be lots of people with this title. So it makes it kind of unimportant having the title. It's more important how much you have expertise in it. And already all these software companies, all these technology companies, they don't look at your degree. I can tell you, I did a PhD, but in none of the companies that I talked to, except probably Microsoft Research, none other asked me what's your degree. So they only talk to you without taking into consideration what's your degree, what's your background. It's like they take care about what you know, what's your expertise, what you can deliver. So that's a reality. So I would say even now, because in our company, we have very many data scientists right now. It's not that, still it's very high demand, but finding a good data scientist is hard. That's the reality. That's the reality.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get to Niloufer's question, we have a person named iPhone joining us. iPhone, would you like to introduce yourself? I don't know if you can hear us, but yeah. Okay, iPhone cannot hear us. So Niloufer, it's your turn. Oh, and by the way, before we go to Niloufer, there should be, I'm looking forward to hear what our takeaway should be from this session, Mohammad Jan. So think about that while Niloufer is asking her question. Because
you mean he shouldn't think about my question?
Oh yeah, actually.
It's okay, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Sorry. All right, Niloufer, go for it.
Okay, great. Yeah, think about the takeaway because that's very important for Amir Mohammad. Mohammad, first of all, that was an amazing talk. I really enjoyed your talk, and it was fascinating, and it made you to sort of helped us to become familiar with the hacker culture, which I didn't know about. I knew that the hackers are like sort of contributing to the safety of the World Wide Web and the softwares and everything, but I didn't know that they have a culture, and it was awesome. It's good to know that. And one more thing that I was thinking about to ask, but it would be, I really like to get to know another version of you. I really learned a lot in this session, but I really like to know another point of view that you mentioned that you went to Switzerland and then you went back to Yaz. So at that point, I was thinking that I really like Yaz, and I really like that city. I haven't been there, but I have heard a lot and saw the pictures and everything. And I know that there are very amazing people there. But it made me think that what made you go back there and then again come back to another country? Do you like to talk about that, or if you're okay to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. If that interests you and everyone else, I hope that they also are not frustrated by this. But yeah, I will. I'm happy to talk about. So first of all, thanks for the compliments. Yeah, actually, what happened is, well, going to Switzerland was just something that happened. I wanted to continue my studies, and there. At the point that I thought about, continuing my studies, it was, I remember it was February 2011. Already all deadlines passed, so only some specific university had remaining deadlines. So I applied only to EPFL. I got there. So that was a serendipity, that just applying to one university and then getting there. And it's a pretty good university. And then I love Switzerland. It's a great country, but there are challenges there. One challenge is, I'm comparing to Canada. It's like Canada. By the first week that I was here, I felt like I belong here actually in Vancouver. But in 6 years that I was in Switzerland, I didn't have this feeling that I got here after months probably. So it's like it's not very welcoming to foreigners, to to international people, even though I was in an international city, right? So that's just imagine what know about my friends that were in the other cities. They were not having a good experience. That was one thing. The second thing was the language. The university was in English and the city was in French. and I was like an illiterate person for quite a while until I picked up French. Yeah, so those were those issues. Almost most of them kind of went away after 6 years of being done. And their first one, well, not really, but yeah, I was used to living there. But then after finishing my studies, it's like I started looking for jobs. All jobs were on the German side of the country, because the German side of the country, Switzerland, is the industrial part of the country. So then, I had, it was a big decision for me. Should I move again to another part of the country with a different language? I just got to know French. So I didn't like the idea. So that's why I, found, with another serendipity event, I got connected to my current company. They wanted me to work for them. So I said, okay, I will work from Switzerland for you. But then they said, but do you have work permits here? I said, no, you should get me one. And then I said, we are just a startup, just started, we cannot do that. Where can you work from? Can you come to US? Well, I said, Trump banned us, so I cannot go to US. So they said, okay, where can you work from? I said, oh, you can only work from Iran. That's the only place that I have permission to work from. And then at the point, it was good. We had this, Iran, nuclear deal in place. There were no sanctions and stuff. So I could actually move back to Iran. I was working both for the company and I was a faculty member at Yaz University. I could make it work. And actually it was beneficial both for me and for the university and for the company. So it was beneficial for everyone. So that was just a chance for me to live there for a while. But then after some time, the nuclear deal went away. Then I had a choice. Either I had to leave my current company and continue spending my life there, or going somewhere else, because I couldn't keep staying there. Then me and my wife, decided let's move. And the best country that we had the choice of any country, literally, and then Vancouver, Canada was the best place. So yeah, that's why we ended up here. Yeah, so it's basically, if I had the choice to remain in Iran, I wouldn't have moved. So kind of I didn't have any choice. Well, I had the choice to stay, but I had to give up lots of other stuff. Yeah, so it was really positive experience for me. So it's not at all because of experiencing something negative I had to move. It's only because of I couldn't contribute anymore to the company that I started working from scratch for them. And we built a great team, great products. It's really incredible thing. So that's the main reason.
Awesome. In fact, you have a follow-up, I guess?
Yes. First of all, فکر کنم که این آقای خوان رفتن. Can we go Farsi?
Okay.
Because I want to ask about Yaz.
چه یزدی برای باید جواب بدیم.
در بود یا آسم. آره واقعا یه ذره نوستالژی بشیم، یه ذره توی 2021 یه ذره احساس کنیم که یه جورای ایران همینجا هست.
آره غمی نیست، یزدی هم براتون صحبت کنم.
آخ به عالی. پس یه خاطره یزدی هم برامون میگیم، مثلا یه جایی که مثلا کمتر ما توریستا میشناسن تو یزد، مثلا نمیدونم یه چیزی که مثلا یه اتفاق جالبی که افتاده، حالا اگه آسونه براتون، چون یهو آدم یادش بیاد سخته،
ولی چیز خاصی که الان توی ذهنم که باشه که چیزی که کانتر اینتویتیوه که خیلی جای خوش هوا زیاد داره توی یزد. یعنی یه جوری هست که در واقع این یه کوه هست، شیرکوه اسمش. این شیرکوه کنارش یک دهاتی هست اسمش ده بالاست. بعد این یه جای خیلی خوش آب و هواییه در یزد که اصلا آدم باورش نمیشه. میگه یو از کویر اومدیم یه جایی که به این خوش آب و هوایی، این باحالی که اینو معمولا خب توریست‌ها
قرار بود یزدی جواب بدی یا
یزد، برای که اون یزدی صحبت باید طرف مقابل من یزدی صحبت کنم، من میتونم کانورسیشن درست کنم. خیلی سخته. یعنی
دیگه نمیدونم داریم توی این جمع، ولی خب لامون نزدیک.
واقعا سخته، یعنی اتوماتیک اتفاق میفته این.
میگفتی ادامه بده.
آره همین گفتم که همین یه چیزیه که خب توریستا خب معمولا وقتی میان توی یزد مثلا میرن مسجد جمعه رو میبینن، میرن در واقع آتشکده رو میبینن. آتشکده زرتشتی خیلی جالبی داره، اگر رفتید یزد حتما اونجا رو باید برید. و مسجد جمعه خیلی باحال داره، معماری خیلی قشنگی داره، اونجا رو باید برید. در واقع جاهای خیلی قشنگ و دیدنی داره. یعنی واقعا اگه که یه موقعی فرصت کردید به ایران که فرصت داشتید برید جایی رو ببینید، چون معمولا آدم میره ایران فقط خانواده رو میبینه برمیگرده دیگه، خیلی فرصت مسافرت شاید نشه، ولی واقعا این فرصت بکنید شهریه که ارزش دیدن و گشتن داره و شیرینی‌های خوشمزه هم که دیگه میدونید دیگه، باقلوا، کیک یزدی و چیزای دیگه. آره
چیزه کیشونو بهشون رو خودت میتونی درست کنی؟
من متاسفانه شیرینی بلد نیستم درست کنم، ولی آشپزی میکنم. آشپزی من خوبه اتفاقا، ان شاءالله در خدمتتون باشم.
یه آشی دارین، آش حبوبات،
شولیه اسمش.
شولی.
شولی چغندره و عدسه و سبزیجات دیگه است دیگه.
سبزیجات هم داره، ولی یکی هست که فقط حبوبات با گوشت اگه اشتباه نکنم.
اون آش گندمه. آش گندم هم داریم. آش گندم اون گندم اینقدر زده میشه مثل حلیم طور میشه مثلا.
آره دقیقاً.
با گوشت گوسفند معمولا، و اون خیلی خوشمزه. اونم من جای دیگه ندیدم، یعنی آره فکر کنم به مربوط یزد باشه. یعنی آره اونو معمولا حالا موقع عزاداری برای مثلا حالا عزاداری خاص میدن دیگه. حالا
آره من تو تهران توی مراسم عاشورا تاسوعا یکی پخته بود. اونجوری شد که آشنا شدم.
عالی. آره اونو هم واقعا من میس میکنم. چیزی نیست که بشه درست کردنش، خیلی سخته. مثلا حدود 24 ساعت این رو دیگ رو هم میزنن فقط، یعنی معمولا یه دیگ خیلی بزرگه توش مثلا یه گوسفند، بعضی وقتا یه شتر میندازن داخل این دیگ و کلی دیگه گندم و حبوبات و چیزهای مختلف. 24 ساعت اینو باید روی آتیش باشه و همش هم باید هم بزنن وگرنه ته میگیره دیگه این. ولی خب برای همین پختنش تو خونه کار هر کسی نیست.
دوستان ویژیتریان یا ویگن اگر توی میتینگ هستن من عذرخواهی میکنم، ولی
آره عذرخواهی میکنم اگه واقعا ویگن هستید، ولی آره برای ما گوشتخوارا خیلی هوس برانگیزه.
بدون گوشتش هم خوشمزه است، اصلا اسمش گندمه.
آره اصل این هم زدن هست که یعنی گندم میشه که خوشمزه است میکنه، یعنی حالا اون بقیه چیزاش دیگه آپشناله یه جوری.
مثلا شما الان اینو تشریح کردی قشنگ دهن من کباب افتاد.
هدف همین بود. هدف همین بود همه گرسنه بشن.
من خورده بودم گشتم شد دیگه، چه برسه بقیه.
آره بعد فکر کنیم که دسر قطابی باقلوایی اونو چیکار کنیم.
آره حشمکی.
ولی واقعا باقلوا درست کردن انقدر سخت نیست. برای من خیلی چیز سختی بود، بعد یک بار که درست کردم فهمیدم که نه انقدر سخت.
خیلی کار اشتباهی کردی گفتی فاطمه، خیلی کار اشتباهی کردی، چون اولین جلسه ای که امیر بذاره برگردیم بتونیم بریم ما زنگ میزنیم ازت میخوایم باقلوا بیا.
چرا که نه حتما.
تیک بعدی میتونی شما چیز باقلوا رو به ما آموزش بدی و راجع به کارت هم صحبت کنی همزمان.
ورژن جدید تیک تاک.
محمد آقا میگم که حالا که وقتی مقدار مونده از بهمون چیزام یاد میدی، اسپک زدن تو والیبال هم اگه بهمون یاد بدی.
آره ما هم والیبال هم دیگه پوچو شما خیلی آشناسی آجاقی دیگه والیبال هم دیگه حیف شد اصلا. این ما نیما والیبال ساحلی کنار همین در واقع همین بست ونکوور چی اسمش امبلساید. آره امبلساید ما بازی می‌کردیم تابستون. الان که دیگه زمستون شده کلا کاسه به هم ریخت. داخل سالن هم که دیگه نمیشه بازی کرد دیگه، تعطیله فعلا.
یادش بخیر.
یادش بخیر. حالا شروع می‌کنیم.
من 2 تا نکته رو بگم. یکی این که این تیک اوی ما رو یادت نره، تو همین که برای جلسه بعدی هنوز کسی رو نداریم یکی داوطلب بشه، وگرنه من مجبورم بیام دونه دونه داوطلبتون کنم. اونا که تا حالا اجرا نکردن البته، وگرنه اونایی که مسئولیت این تکلیف شهریشون رو انجام دادن، مثل نیلوفر که حضوری این کارو کرده، دیگه چیز نیست. یه نفر داوطلب بشه برای جلسه بعد، وگرنه باید تیک تاک رو شات دانش کنیم.
حالا شاید یکی اینا وقته که محمد فکر کنه، ما داریم وقت می‌گذاریم محمد فکر کنه. حالا شاید یکی تالنت جدیدی، کار جدیدی انجام داده باشه، خب دوست داره دوباره بیاد صحبت کنه. محدودیت ایجاد نکن دیگه. مخصوصا تو این دوران کووید همه تالنت‌های جدید یاد گرفتن.
اینم هست، من اینو منکر نمیشم و نیلوفرم اصلا منظورش خودش نبودش. نه.
مهدی هم که اصلا امروز حرف نمیزنه، نمیدونم چه اتفاقی افتاده. قهره.
خب من آمادم برای بخوایم کانکلوژن رو یه تیک‌اوی چیز بکنیم.
تیک‌اوی تو چیزه، آره بگو و توی چت بنویس که من میخوام کپی پیست کنم برای
چشم می‌نویسم. چشم. یه در واقع چیزی که من می‌خواستم ته این داستان در واقع بهش برسیم اینه که این فیلدی که الان به وجود اومده تحت عنوان حالا کامپیوتر ساینس، کامپیوتر انجینیرینگ خیلی گسترده شده، همه جا رو داره میبلعه یه جورایی، یعنی همه بیزنس ها همه چیزا رو داره درگیر میکنه و یعنی آینده تقریبا ناگزیره، الان مشخصه تقریبا آینده ناگزیره که همه یه بخشی از این اکوسیستم بشن و چه بهتر که آدم پرواکتیو باشه و الان در واقع خودش رو برای آینده آماده بکنه و خودش بخشی از این اکوسیستم بشه، تا اینکه بعداً بخواد مجبور بشه که بخشی از این اکوسیستم باشه و ندونه که چجوری این کارو بکنه. یعنی یه در واقع تیک‌اوی هستش که ببینیم کجا میتونیم کانتریبیوت بکنیم، اگه که میتونیم به خود یه پروژه اوپن سورس کمک بکنیم مستقیما، این یه آپشنی که بخوایم به پابلیشینگش کمک بکنیم، به ادمینستر کردنش کمک بکنیم. هر نوع کمکی که به این مجموعه، به هر کدوم از این پروژه انجام بشه، یه حرکتیه که هم به شما میتونه احساس خوبی بده، یعنی شما دارید یه کار مفیدی انجام بدید که به بشریت داره کمک میکنه، به اضافه اینکه دارید به خودتون کمک میکنید، یعنی خودتون رو دارید، پابلیسیتی خودتون رو دارید بالاتر میبرید و در واقع یه بخشی از رزومه شما میشه که والنتیر ورکیه که انگار کاملا مشخصه، یعنی میشه پیگیری کرد چه والنتیر ورکی انجام شده اینجا. طولانی شد ببخشید.
خواهش میکنم. اینو کوتاه شدهشو میتونی برای من
بفرستم برای شما؟ بله.
کامل بنویس، همه رو بنویس.
کامل همه اینایی که گفتی
همه رو بنویس.
به رسم شکل. نیلوفر باز دستو بالا کردی که.
آره سوال تکنیکی دارم. اتفاقا به این تیک اوی هم یه رفت پیدا کرد شانسی. ببین مثلا حالا 5 دقیقه هم بیشتر وقت نده. مثلا یکی کار نمیدونم چه میدونم مثلا پزشکی انجام، مثلا دکتره، بعد میره مثلا والنتیری یه جا شروع میکنه کار کردن، خب و در واقع اون اسکیلش رو به طور مجانی در اختیار بقیه قرار میده. توی این کالچر هکرها این حالت والنتیر هستش که مثلا یهو مثلا پیدا میکنن یه ارگانیزیشنی که مثلا وبسایتش اصلا کلا همه پورتا بازه با همه چی بیرون، همه چی رو میتونن ببینن، همه پسورد نمیدونم کارمندا رو میتونن پیدا کنن و اینا. شده مثلا این همچین کالچر دارن که مثلا زنگ بزنن به آیتی بگن که مثلا بیا من راهنماییت کنم، درستش کنم، والنتیری، بدون اینکه حالا مثلا هکش کنن که یارو بفهمه.
قطعاً بوده، یعنی و بوده و هست. حالا من خودم یه تجربه اینو دارم که در واقع و بین دوستان خودم میدونم که این اتفاق میفته که شما ممکنه نقطه نفوذی پیدا بکنید تو چیزهای مختلف و خب ممکنه که به هر طریقی، حالا ممکنه که یا به صورت مجانی یا به صورت در واقع پیشنهادی میدی و یا آقا این مشکل وجود داره، من شناساییش کردم و معمولا حالا دو حالت داره، یا خود اصلا اون ارگانیزیشن این رو کامپنسیتش میکنه، یعنی میگه که انت شما هم چیزی نخوای ما بهت یه چیزی میدیم که اینو شما پیدا کردی و کمک کردی، ولی خب قطعا آدم هکرهای کلاه سفید به اینا میگن، وایت هات هکرز به اینا میگن، کسایی که میرن اشکالاتو پیدا میکنن نه برای اینکه بخوان ازش سوء استفاده کنن، ولی به خاطر اینکه بخوان اون سیستم رو امنش بکنن و استفاده 100% اینجوری هستش و خب اون آدمای قابل ریسپکتی ان.
واقعا مرسی.
پیشوات بسیارم عالی، دست همگی درد نکنه. کسی سوال، نظر، پیشنهاد، انتقاد، چیزی در نهایی داد عنوانه؟
آقا ما یه انتقادی داریم، تا حالا 3 بار ضبط کردیم، فیلماش کجاست؟
چرا یکیشو گذاشتم بقیهش تنبلی کردم، ببخشید.
آرشیو صدا سیما اینا میره.
آره این من نگاه میکنم اینم نیست، این کجا گذاشتی این فیلم های ما رو؟
بچه ها وزارت میره. محسن تو هم چیزه، من یادم نرفته صحبتی که با هم کردیم و بیا فردا با هم صحبت کنیم.
حتما در خدمت.
قربون شما. دیگه آره من میذارم این دفعه، به خدا میذارم. خب دیگه غیر از این انتقادی که راجع به تنبلی موجی برنامه بودش، نقدی، پیشنهادی چیزی نیستش. بسیار هم عالی. شب خوبی داشته باشید. امیدوارم که هفته دیگه هم ببینیمتون و ممنون از محمد به خاطر اینکه یه زاویه دیگه ای از هکرها رو به ما نشون داد، چون معمولاً هکر یه چیزی مثل لابیسته که اصولا درد فوش به نظر میرسه، ولی خب به نظر میاد نکار مثل لابیست کارهای مثبت هم میتونه بکنه. حالا اینو من فکر کنم حذف کنم وگرنه چیز متهم میشم به خیلی چیزا دیگه. بگذاریم. دوستان شب خوبی داشته باشید.
مرسی.
خوب شد.
مرسی محمد.